So Randy was my husband, and he got diagnosed with ALS in 2007, and he started going to clinic that was sponsored by the MDA. And when you get a diagnosis of ALS, it's a terminal illness. There's no cures, there's no treatments, there's not really a lot you can do besides go to clinic and have a physical therapist and a wheelchair guy and a respiratory tech come and visit you and let you know where you are and in your disease progress pretty much. And the MDA, we did a lot of research and looking at the ALS Association and then the MDA, and we found the MDA generally did the most, gave the most money towards research, and we thought we'd get behind that, and that would be a way we would fight with his disease or cope with having nothing really else to do. So we started going to the MDA clinic, and then we started doing a walk every year and raising money for the MDA, and it just became a big thing. And he was very well known in his industry, which was rehab, and which a lot of the people here are from that industry, and they're his friends and knew him well. And so the MDA, though, they cover 43 different muscular diseases, and they don't necessarily have an ALS specific event. So when they were kind of brainstorming, and they thought, hey, Randy knew a lot of people and he had a lot of great connections, and maybe we could do something in his honor and hope that bring his industry up and make it an industry event for people that he used to work with or vendors that he used to know to come and kind of celebrate a day in his honor. And playing golf, of course, because that's what all guys do, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how it started, and they came and asked me, would it be okay? And I said I couldn't think of a better way he'd like to have his name remembered than in a golf tournament, and with his his passion of his life, to be a part of that. So that's kind of how we got it started, and it shows today how many friends and people that he used to work with that are here. It shows how much he was loved and respected.
Randy is my big brother. He was almost 3 years older than me, and we grew up in Southern California, and then later, as we became teenagers, we moved to Arizona.
Well, we met in 1974 when he married my best friend from high school, Glennis, and she was wife number 2. And then we just stayed friends with him even after they divorced. And when he was in Chicago, we just kept in touch via phone or, Christmas cards, but we always kept in touch because he was very special, and we wanted to make sure we stayed friends.
So I was here in Phoenix and Randy was in Chicago, but we were working for the same company. But I didn't know Randy for a while, and then I started hearing about this rehab department in Chicago and how great it was, and I couldn't wait until I had the opportunity to meet Randy. So I felt like I was out here a lone man on an island, and we had a sales meeting that once we all got together, I was able to see what Randy could bring to the table and what a great influence he was, and how he was pro rehab to really motivate us to move forward with the rehab equipment. And so it was really kind of a meeting that really changed everything for me.
When Randy was diagnosed with ALS, he lived in Chicago, and he had lived there for 20 years. And so we didn't see much of each other, as I didn't go to Chicago often and he didn't come back to Mesa very often. But we talked on the phone now and then and kept in touch that way. So after the diagnosis, when it became apparent that he needed to leave work and retire, he decided to move back to Arizona to be closer to me and my family, which I was always very grateful for. It ended up to be a very positive thing for him. The weather's great here, so he could get out and enjoy the outdoors while he was still mobile, and made a lot of friends right away, being as personable as he is.
So Randy really was pro customer. I mean, pro client. He really wanted the client treated the way they should be treated, and he instilled that in all of us. You know, do the right thing. And it was really nice because I ran into a situation with some individuals in the management of the company that I didn't feel comfortable with what they were doing, and I contacted Randy, said, Randy, I need your help to make this right. And Randy said, do it. He stuck behind me. I went out and I did what I felt was appropriate. The payer source at the time was very happy that we came to the table and made the situation correct. And I think without Randy's backing, I would not have felt comfortable doing that. So I knew Randy really instilled to do the right thing. And his legacy, I think, is still there. Basically, treat the customer right, do what you know is right, and the rewards will pay off.
Well, I think that the way that he handled his diagnosis was incredibly inspiring. I mean, basically, he just tried to live life to its best, you know, for every day. And thank goodness he and Dawn found each other, and so he was very happy, and even despite the disease. But a lot of it, you know, it's just like his attitude was so inspirational. It's like, you know, just it is what it is what he used to say, and just, you know, get the best out of each day, no matter what, regardless of the conditions. And I saw a post on Facebook, something about it's not what is handed to you, but how you handle it that makes the difference, you know. So, and he just did it. He was so inspirational, truly, in how he handled the disease, because some people are not. Some people turn mean and sullen, and you wouldn't blame him. But he was just gracious and just loving all the way through, and tried to have fun in any way that he could and adapt in any way that he could, and that is incredibly inspiring, you know.
We really appreciate people that have come out to this tournament and help us to raise money for really necessary research dollars. And we really thank Dawn, especially. She's a pleasure getting to know her. We were at the walk last year and she came up to me and said, I'm looking for something. And I thought, there's something for her, and it turned into this, and she's been an amazing person helping to make this happen. So we are so grateful for her support, and it's also awesome to see how many people that are out here today that I've had a pleasure of, I've known their name or I finally got a chance to meet them, and you just have to mention Randy's name and their face lights up. So you can really tell the impact that he's had upon all of his co-workers over the years that have made a special trip to be here and to support not only him but MDA. So.
Dawn and Randy had always been a huge part of our MDA Muscle Walk. For the last couple of years, they've been one of the biggest fundraising teams that we had at the walk, and it was something that was really important to them. And so after our walk this past year, and after Randy had passed away, Dawn was really looking to get a little bit more involved with us and, you know, try and do something to give back and really honor Randy. And so we kind of put our heads together, and I had come up with the idea of maybe doing a memorial golf tournament in his honor. So the name came to us, Randy Brooks ALS Memorial Golf Tournament. And the idea just kind of grew from there. We really decided that we, you know, wanted to invite a lot of the companies that were in the rehab industry that Randy was so loved by and gave so much back to. And so we really just, you know, Dawn started putting our feelers out and just trying to get everybody involved, like Dawn's so great at doing. And, you know, like 5 months later, here we are.
And my role is, one of the roles is to attend our MDA clinic at St. Joe's Hospital, and that's where I had the privilege of meeting and getting to know Randy and Dawn. Randy came our way through the Apria business and came to move to Arizona, and actually hand-selected our clinic through some of his friends and associates here. And it was just a pleasure every single visit to get to know him. He presented so much humor. He was an amazing man to get to know, always full of life and so many stories. And I don't think I ever saw a down day in Randy, even though you know, with ALS, it's so progressive. The changes can happen so fast, and it was a little slower for Randy at first, and then we saw some dramatic changes. And it's a disease that is almost indescribable. It's very hard, very challenging what people have to go through. So having events such as this for, you know, raising money for not only for ALS research, but awareness too. More people have to understand what someone with ALS goes through.
So here locally, we are the Muscular Dystrophy Association of Arizona. So we have about 2,400 families that are registered with us, having one of the 43 different forms of muscle disease that we cover under our umbrella. ALS being one of those. We actually have a pretty large adult population in Arizona that have ALS, that attend our clinic pretty regularly, which is how we really got to know Randy and Dawn. And so all the money from the Randy Brooks ALS Memorial Tournament will not only help to fund ALS research, to continue finding more treatments and hopefully a cure someday, as we don't right now have a cure and very little treatment still for ALS patients, but will also help to continue to fund the services that we provide for our ALS clients here in Arizona, such as our clinic that we have at St. Joe's Hospital. We do support groups for clients with ALS, fund a loan closet to help them with equipment, help them with repairs. So this tournament will be a really great event in Arizona to really help support those families.
Randy was a lot of fun. I got to see him at clinic. He and Dawn were just a huge part of our MDA muscle walk, and Randy would send out weekly blogs to all the people on his teams, educating them, which is the part I probably loved about him the most, is, you know, helping to build awareness for, you know, our need to find the treatment and cure for this disease. And I met him through communication support groups. His speech started to become slower and compromised, and so had an opportunity to meet him through there as well. So just an amazing man. There was not a bad day that I ever saw, and you couldn't have a bad day when you're around him either. You know, he just was, his spirit and his love for life was just contagious. So you couldn't help but show up the same way that he did. So it was a pleasure getting to know him, because I know the days were tough, you know, and they are for all of our families with ALS. It's such a challenge to have to go through.
Well, my favorite part of Randy was that he was what I would consider a trivia king. He just knew lots of little bits of information about all kinds of topics. So if you asked him about a Broadway play, he would know all the background information, who the stars were and where they got their training and who wrote the music. And if you asked him a political question, he would know all the background to how Congress had made the decision to vote on that bill. And he knew everything, little bits of everything that other people wouldn't know. And so it made him a very interesting person to talk to.
He was telling this story where he called up the local rep in Butte, Montana and said, send me a map of how to get to your office. And I've never been to Butte, Montana, so I have no experience there, but Randy was telling this story. So he said, he told the individual, send me a map. And the guy on the phone said, well, you just come out of the airport, make a right turn, go up the hill, and make a right turn into the parking lot. And Randy goes, well, I need you to send me a map. And the guy again explained, well, you come out of the airport, make a right turn, go up the hill, and make a right turn, you're in our store. And Randy goes, send me a map. So the individual at the time drew a map that basically had a line up the hill, right turn, up the hill, right turn into the branch, and we were there. And Randy goes, it was that easy. There was nothing else out there but the branch. So I just kind of always remember that story of Randy telling me that story. So that was very, very fun.
We went for a walk, and he told me that he was first diagnosed with ALS, and both of us said, oh, they're probably wrong. And we just walked and walked and walked, and then a couple of years later it was confirmed. But my favorite story was just the intimacy and the friendship that we always shared.
Well, as kids, being that he was my big brother, he was very bossy, but it came to be kind of a neat trait because he used it to organize. He organized the neighborhood games, capture the flag, picnics, hikes, all kinds of things that the neighborhood kids did. Then when we were adults and he would come to visit, I have 5 kids, he would organize games with my kids. Let's all go play croquet or whatever.
Yeah, I think Randy was a great influence on a lot of us, in the industry, and to work with him was really fun. He really made the job fun. He was always looking for new and exciting things to do, to keep us going and motivate us. And I really am happy to have known Randy.
The thing that I loved about Randy, especially in the later years, was his great attitude of acceptance of everyone. He just was a people person, and he made you feel special when he talked to you, and he always tried to impart some knowledge of some sort.
He was a very classy person, and he taught me the value of friendship and not taking yourself too seriously, and always appreciating who you were. I wasn't supposed to cry. Okay. And just being who you are and being okay with that.
So the last time I saw him, he said, Linda, I'm okay with this. And you always think, well, I could have said something better, and I just reacted, and I said, well, I'm glad you are, because we're not. Which I could have done a lot better, but I mean, he was just incredible. He really was, and it really is how you handle things, how a person handles it that makes them, and he just handled everything beautifully.